What's up YouTube? Welcome back to another video. Now if you've watched any of my recent videos, it's the middle of summer and you might have noticed that I'm always drenched in sweat. I've been outside in the garage here for maybe 10 minutes or so and I've already started to sweat. The heat and the humidity here is just freaking ridiculous. So today I'm gonna try and attempt to mitigate that as much as possible by spending as least amount as possible. We're gonna be installing these insulation things, or otherwise known as fancy styrofoam. These, all in all, with everything that I bought, including the infrared gun to see how effective this is, was under 100 bucks. And I've been promised by the internet that this will drop my temperatures in the garage between 5 and 10 degrees, which is actually a lot if you think about it. I mean, inside your home, dropping it a few degrees is pretty expensive. So if this can actually drop it about 5 degrees, that would make a huge difference here. I don't know, my hopes or expectations aren't that high due to the humidity level here as well. But you know, I'd much rather be working in a garage that's 5 to 10 degrees cooler than not. So, and since it was under 100 bucks, I feel like it's worth a shot. The first thing we're gonna do is obviously clean this because I don't know how the top one here got so dirty, but it did. I've already cleaned this one to make sure that it'll actually get cleaned. It may not look like it because the lighting is absolute trash in here. That top one is clean. So I just have to clean these other 4 or 3 and then we'll get back to it and I'll kind of tell you what my setup is. With that done, you can see I'm already freaking sweating, so not having a good time. But I'll go ahead and tell you guys what I bought in case you guys want to do this yourself. Like I said, I bought my expensive, fancy styrofoam. This was, I think it on advertised like by 4x8. But of course, like everything in the world, nothing is what they say they are. So this is actually not 4x8. It's like 3.75 by 7 something. I don't know, but it's not 4x8, so I don't know why they advertised it as 4x8. Makes me very upset. But I already pre-cut it a little bit just so that I could get it into the car. So these are kind of very rough cuts. As you can see here, it's not entirely straight because I cut that in the parking lot of Lowe's. But I think those edges will be fine. It'll be kind of tucked up under here, so it shouldn't be too visible and no one should notice. And no one will be the wiser unless they watch this video. This is the next thing I bought. It's liquid nails. This is the Projects. This was like $3, so nothing crazy. They do have a more powerful version of this, but I figured that if I fuck it up, I want to be able to take that off. And then of course I had to get one of these as well. This was $3 also. So pretty cheap on that aspect. I think all in all, it was like $6 for both of those, and then about maybe 75 bucks for that. And I went ahead and got a like little thermostat gun or whatever, temperature gun, which was like 20 bucks, but you don't have to, obviously. You can just install it on the wall. But I wanted to see how effective it was, especially since I'm a little skeptical. What's the freaking word? Skeptical. That doesn't sound right. Is that the word? I don't trust it. I don't know how well it's gonna work, is what I'm trying to say. All right, now that I've got this all set up, the next step is to remove these bars that go all the way across so that I can actually fit it up in there. Oh wow, that's pretty dang close. That is pretty dang close. It's just a hair too long there. But if I cut it just a little bit, it should fit perfectly in there. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and make that correction, and then I'll go ahead and clean the bottom again, actually, because little guy's sleeping right here. Make sure that he's out of the way and that we're all good to apply our liquid nails, and then we'll be good. Like a glove. Awesome. My measurement for the height is a little off, but I'm gonna accept it. Once we got where we want it, we can go ahead and cut this off real quick. Cool. Oh, I just cut myself. Oh. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that off real quick, put a few dabs of this there, and then put it back and hold it for a few seconds. I don't know. we'll see. All right, then we take this whole thing, slide it in there real quick, and then what, we just press it there for a little bit? All right, I think that's good enough for that one. I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next one. Well, the bottom is finally all done, all the way across, and I'm a sweaty boy. This is, it's not hard, it's just freaking hot as hell here. The next step, I'm just gonna go ahead and put this bar back, plop her back on the thing, and then the rest of it, and then we're done. So again, not hard, it's kind of time consuming and a little annoying. I have to make more cuts, a lot more cuts, and I'm just drenched in sweat. We're finally done. Took about 2 days, only because I ran out of liquid nail, so I had to go back and get more. I bought 2 extra, so in total the entire 2-car garage door took 3 cans. I was laying it on pretty thick, so that might have been why, but this is what we got, and I think it turned out pretty a-okay. The biggest kicker for me was that this bottom row and the top row were different dimensions than everything else, and I only measured the middle one. So it led to, like, this right here is like an inch off right there, specifically only in that one. The other 2 or other 3 here are fine. And that one's a little off too. But other than that, I think it looks pretty a-okay. Now, as how effective it is, I don't know. I measured it the other night and it was around 8 p.m. The high for that day was 90 and the low was like 70, and then the humidity level was like 70% as well. And in here it measured 85 degrees at 8 o'clock at night. So I'm gonna wait until 8 o'clock tonight. Again, the temperature's, you know, kind of the same. It's a little off, but trying to limit the amount of variables that I have. So I'll measure the temperature again tonight at 8, and we'll see how effective this thing is at keeping the hot air out. Now, it is just insulation, so any hot air that's in here is going to stay in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn on some fans real quick, cool down the temperature, measure that, and then we'll see how much of an increase or how much it stays the same by 8 o'clock tonight. It is now the following night. I did record last night, however, it rained yesterday, so I decided that that might mess up the results or cool down everything more so than it would on an average day. So today was a little bit more consistent with the day that I first recorded the temperature. So I'm gonna go ahead and measure it now, and we'll see what we get to see if it was even worth it. My first impression, yes, it's worth it. It's so much more comfortable in here. Just walking into the garage, you can noticeably tell a difference. My guess that right now it's probably about 5-6 degrees cooler than it was the first time I recorded the temperature, which is very noticeable. It just makes it a little bit more comfortable coming out into the garage and makes you want to come out into the garage. When you know that you're about to go outside and be drenched in sweat, doing whatever projects you're doing, you probably don't want to go outside. It's a little bit of a turn off, if you will. Real quick, I got my handy dandy. This is probably like 24 bucks, something like that, to measure the temperature, and I'm gonna show you exactly how I did it. So one of the measurements that I did is I pointed at the ground and just see what the ground temperature is. That says 78 degrees. So that right there is about 7 degrees cold. With that measurement being at night, 8 o'clock at night, we also have a measurement that I took during the day. This measurement is roughly 81 degrees. So jumping from 85 at night to 81 during the day, when it's supposed to be at its hottest, I think that's pretty a-okay. There's one last measurement that I took, and that's actually outside of the garage, but I can go ahead and take one of the measurements in here, 2 more measurements actually. If we come up to the garage door and we measure anywhere, I'm gonna measure right here, but I can also measure here or even on the insulation, and we'll get, so right here I've got 87.6, over here I've got 84, and then on the actual insulation we've got 86.4. So those are the 3 measurements that we got in here, but if we go outside, we can see where it really makes a difference. With the outside temperature of the garage door being right now about 80, oh, it's still going up. 89.8 right now in this one spot here. So the insulation on its own prevents most of the heat from the garage door coming in, and that's exactly what's happening. And that's why in here it feels so much cooler, because we're not getting that radiating temperature off of the garage door. With that being said, I think it is extremely helpful. It's still humid as heck here, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. Temperature wise, dropping the amount of degrees that I did for the amount of money I spent, I think it was worth every dollar, and it was pretty easy to do. If you guys agree, or you've had any other experiences, let me know down below. I'm curious to see if you guys have had any other outcomes, or if you've attempted this in a different project or something like that. If you liked the video, go ahead and leave a like down below. Subscribe if you want to, it's completely free. You can always change your mind later. And that's it, I'll see you guys in the next one. Deuces.